My question was, how can you justify calling him a hero? I agree.
I've just justified it. That's my explanation.
I
think that you're standing on the shoulders of giants and you think that you're flying, but you're not.
I wish I didn't have a time constraint because I have a lot of things I want to get through, but I'm going to read two quotes and ask how you justify this as, quote, a hero and, quote, one of the greatest men in history, as you said through your speech.
Where are your quotes from?
The quotes are from his journal.
From where?
In his journal, his journal.
From the Journal of Christopher Columbus?
Yes.
Okay.
In his journal, he says, quote, "Let us in the name of the Holy Trinity go on sending all the slaves that can be sold." He also says, quote, "The Indians are so naive. I will bring as much gold and slaves as you need." That actually was not in his journal. That was to the court in Madrid.
I assume it wasn't in his journal because he would be writing to himself. Right. So you're saying Christopher Columbus agreed in a letter to his bosses who were funding his voyage that he would fulfill the terms of his voyage? That's what you're saying? This is some shock.
There's two parts to it. The first one was from his journal, where he quite literally said, "Let us in the name of the Holy Trinity go on sending all the slaves." The second one was to the court in Madrid, appeasing them, saying, "Yes, let's go get all these slaves."
Well, you mentioned in the name of the Holy Trinity, Christopher Columbus baptized many natives. He did it personally. And he obviously was bringing the faith to the New World. You're at a Catholic university. If you believe that the faith is true and good and beautiful, as I do, as all Christians ought to do, then that's a wonderful thing to spread the gospel to people who have never heard it before.
I think you misheard the quote. The last part of the quote
I don't think I misheard the quote, but you can repeat it if you like.
In the name of the Holy Trinity, what should we do in that name? Go on sending all the slaves that can be sold.
So he sent slaves to the New World. That is true. Back to Spain. That is true. That was part of the deal. And if you listen to my lecture, I'm not sure. I heard your question, but I'm not sure you heard my lecture. He agreed to the encomienda system as a political concession because he was outfoxed by a local mayor named Roldan. This was the cause of much of his consternation in the New World. It's the reason that Bobadilla was able to take over and usurp control from him in the West Indies. This is a political reality. This is not a beautiful thing. It's a terrible thing. Slavery is an awful thing. None of us disagrees with that. But for us now, as people who have benefited, all people of the whole world who have benefited from the greatest country, the most profitable, the most charitable, the most equitable, the most just, the one that allows you to stand there and ask me that question, for us to spit on that man who made all of it possible because he made some moral concessions in order to take the most ambitious voyage at that time in the history of man is so bizarrely ungrateful. It is so ignorant of historical and political realities as to be naive and sophomoric.
My question was, how can you justify calling him a hero? I agree.
I've just justified it. That's my explanation.
I
think that you're standing on the shoulders of giants and you think that you're flying, but you're not. We are dwarfs standing on the shoulders of that great man, and we spit down on him in our ingratitude. How pathetic.